said that Pat Riley sent a lengthy letter to the Players Association detailing all of the missteps by Jimmy Butler. May or may not be true. It's an accusation. Who knows? But you know, it's interesting to see this Heat team, 3D. I mean, you've been in these situations before. It's uncomfortable.
It is.
How do the teammates go on without their best player, the guy they need to win games, and he's not there?
Well, I think each guy understands, but I think we all would agree is how he's going about it, Sean. I think to that story you're talking about with Tim Hardaway, if you go back and watch that game, there's 2 plays where 100% of the players go like, come on, Jimmy. It's that 1 foot leaner in the corner that resonates like, no, never disrespect the game. We understand the business of our game does get the best of you, and it does get emotional. But once you throw up and you put your uniform on, you go play, you still got to play the game the right way. And hopefully you have good representation where you can go behind doors and handle things differently. I think that's the biggest problem most of us have is how he's going about it.
You would think the love of the game, 3D. You make a great point. The love of the game would just push you through, and it doesn't. But what's really alarming for Jimmy Butler is all the other teams are watching his behavior right now.
Correct.
Right? They saw it happen in Philadelphia. They saw it happen in Minnesota, Chicago. So they're saying to themselves, oh, wait a minute now. Is this guy ever going to be happy? Right? And now he's on the other side of the hill with his career. Still has good years left, but he's asking for big money. You're bringing him into a team that you're expecting to win a championship. He's only going to go to a championship contender. And if you're that team, you're a little bit worried about, you know, what type of character, basketball character, is he going to bring to your team and to your locker room?
And the point you bring up is the fascinating one that I think us nerds that dig into this stuff every day are really living and dying with is teams that are competing for a title are the teams that want them. Those are the teams that tend to have high payrolls and have financial constraints to be able to bring in a guy like that.
So how many teams, and let's just use the top 4 teams, or have a guy or two they're willing to give up to bring in this guy? Now it messes up your chemistry, messes up your payroll, and you're trying to win right away. So that's why I'm saying, Jimmy, we understand you may not be happy. You can go about this differently, and maybe everyone can find a deal where everyone can be happy, because we've seen trades like this before.
I think, I mean, we've heard people talk about it. Like the best place for Jimmy Butler right now is in Miami. I mean, you could make that because, you know, it's a situation where if he goes to certain teams, they may have to give up 3 or 4 guys to match the salary of Jimmy. I mean, that's the part about Jimmy Butler that I think people are not putting into the proper context. The dude's making nearly $48 million. He's got a player option for $55 million next year. The fact that the Heat didn't give him an extension, he's been a guy that's always played with a chip on his shoulder. Go prove it. Go out there and go make them essentially pay for not paying you.
Yeah, you mentioned 2 things when you're making trades. Number 1, who do you have to give up? That's number 1. Number 2, what do you have to give the guy you just traded for?
Right.
That's 2 things. So in a deal, maybe you don't give up enough, but you pay him. Or in a deal, you give up a lot, but you don't pay him. In this situation, Jimmy wants an extension. Now, I don't know if his agent went out there and kind of got a wink-wink deal. Yeah, if he comes here, we will give you an extension. But that's what he wants. And this is a guy who's going to be pushing, again, on the other side of 35. And this extension won't kick in until after next year. So we're talking 2 years from now, right? I mean, and this is a guy who doesn't play. He doesn't play 82 games.
And remember, that was the criticism that Pat Riley had at his end of the year exit interview that he did with the media, where Pat Riley said, we need Jimmy to be available to us before we can have contract negotiation talks. Now, the team that has been most linked to Jimmy Butler has been the Phoenix Suns. We keep on hearing these rumors that Phoenix wants him. Phoenix, as you mentioned, would be willing to give him that extra extension once he's there.
I did read that.
There's rumors, and they are rumors, that Kevin Durant would enjoy playing with Jimmy Butler. But the key to this would be Bradley Beal would have to be in the deal. Bradley Beal has no trade clause.
Trade clause, right.
By all indications, Miami doesn't want Bradley Beal. So now you got to find a 3rd or a 4th team to reroute Bradley Beal to. So not to say this can't happen. It certainly could be done. We've seen more complicated deals, right? I mean, how many times did we hear Chris Paul and Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, these guys were untradeable, and all of a sudden they're traded. So things can happen. But Phoenix right now is in a tough spot.
Phoenix is in a tough spot because of the rumors, and whoever put them out there, kudos to get us talking about that trade. Bigger picture, Sean, I want to hear KD say he wants Jimmy, because KD, how you've left Steph to go be with Kyrie, and now you're there, and now you want to bring Jimmy into this with Book. I don't like it at all. I don't like Jimmy Butler around Booker and KD at all, if we're being 100% honest. So if this deal happens, kudos to the deal, but to me, I don't like the deal.
Yeah, the other thing is, if it gets out that KD wants Jimmy, well, how does Bradley Beal feel? He's your teammate right now.
Yeah.
So that's a tough situation. And I'm not saying that's the case, but if that's true, how do you talk to Bradley Beal, your teammate? The other thing is, you raised 2 points. Number one, Bradley Beal has a no trade clause. He can just, he controls everything. He can just say, hey, I don't want to go there, and that's it. But suppose he doesn't want to go to Miami. Miami doesn't want him. Right. They don't want those 2 years remaining on that deal, and he keeps carrying that no trade clause through the duration of that contract. Right. To try to find a third team, but first of all, if you're a rebuilding team, you don't want Bradley Beal's contract, right? You don't want him. So he can only go to a handful of contenders. And again, these contenders have to give up something. And by the way, the Phoenix Suns have the highest payroll in the league. There's a lot of restrictions on what they can take back financially, what kind of trades they can make. So this is very tough for the Phoenix Suns.
The biggest key from an educational standpoint that you have to know about Phoenix's financial restraints is that they can only accept, dollar-wise, what they send out.
No, correct.
So Jimmy Butler's making nearly $48 million. They have to send out at least the $48 million out. So in order to get there, that's Bradley Beal. To your point, Miami doesn't want him. So Miami has to get something in return for him, right? They've given up a lot of their future assets. The young players that are helping fill out their roster right now and are playing core rotation minutes, why would Phoenix want to give that up for a 35-year-old who gets injured a lot, making $50 million a year?
Well, first of all, if you're Phoenix, you put a lot of your stake in Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Yeah. You basically said you're going to win with these two guys, so you have to get that third guy in there. And kudos for a franchise to do that, commit so much money to these two guys, really three guys with Bradley Beal, great. But these guys are all starting to get old, and maybe their best years are behind them. So on the trade market, given their contracts and the fact that teams are looking and saying, well, you know what, we're not going to get the 2014 version of this player. They're just not going to give you enough.
Stay tuned.
No, that's what makes it fun.
And it feels like, at least from Jimmy Butler's standpoint, he's not going to let this die. He's going to continue to have fun with it.
To your point earlier, you have two stubborn people. We know how to stay. We know Pat's not getting any younger. We know Pat's stubborn too. So to your conversation earlier, I don't know if they can work it out. It may seem that you should stay because it may be the best thing for you, but with those two guys being as stubborn as they are, I don't think they can work it out.
Jimmy continues to be out in a 7-game suspension. Miami right now up by 6.
Tiếp tục. Giờ sẽ móc tiếp những mũi tiếp vào. Cứ lần lượt từng mũi một cho mình. Mình tiếp tục mình mắc nhé. Tiếp tục mắc. Mọi người cứ móc lần lượt cho mình cho đến hết nhé.